Sure. Hello, my name is Rebecca Schramm. I'm the assistant to the director of the Agassiz Tulip Festival on Seabird Island, British Columbia, Canada. We have here one part of the field and the other part is on the other side of me here. We are in the second week of the festival. It closes after the 27th of April this year. Every year it changes times because the growing season changes depending on the weather, of course. So what we have here is a bulb growing operation. Lots of people ask us, what do you grow all these flowers for? We grow them for the bulbs. So we order seeds from Holland and then we plant them. So we order bulbs from Holland and it takes 7 years for a seed to grow into a bulb. So you have to plant them every year in order for the bulb to grow. So when these flowers are just past their most beautiful point, we cut off the heads of the flowers and then the energy from the sun goes into the green plant and makes a bigger bulb. And when the bulbs reach full maturity, then they are planted in the greenhouses to make the cut flowers, which you can buy at auctions and you can buy at stores and floral shops and tulip stands all around BC. So I'm going to bring you in and show you some cut flowers now. Is that it? No. So when our bulbs are fully grown, they are planted in the greenhouses and this is what comes out. Beautiful cut flowers for sale. Well, this is an example of a variety called Corolla. The thing that we do at the festival is sell potted bulbs because this time of year all the bulbs in the world are all the tulip bulbs in the world are actually in the ground. They're being planted to make flowers and to make bigger bulbs. And people always say, but can't we buy some? So we say, okay, well, you can buy these ones that are planted in pots. We plant them in pots, as you see here, in the fall, and then we keep them in a cold storage facility so that they don't grow too fast. Then, just before the festival, we bring them outside and they start to grow. And then, if people buy this pot, in 2 weeks, they will have tulips growing in here, beautiful flowers. And you can keep these bulbs and plant them again in October, but you have to treat them properly. So what happens is you follow the way that the tulips are treated here in the fields, which is when the flower is starting to die, you cut the head off, and then you keep watering the green part because the sun will continue to grow into the bulb and make it bigger. And then what happens is in June, you dump out the pot and you take all the bulbs out, spread them out somewhere like your garage or your basement to dry over the summer, and then in the fall they'll be ready to plant around Thanksgiving, which is a perfect time to plant bulbs. Here on the BC coast we rarely get ground that freezes in the winter though, so you can plant bulbs right through till December and you will have beautiful blooms again in April. So this is a chart of the life of a greenhouse tulip. It's a 12-month process, okay? So the first step is planting the bulbs in late September. 40 acres is planted in 7 days using 3 different tractors. We plant them in big nets, okay? The net is rolled out in the field and the bulbs are dropped into the net by the tractor, okay? And they're planted that way. Then the next step is, before going into about 3 to 4 months of dormancy, which means no activity at all, the bulbs develop a strong root system to carry them through the winter. The plant first shows itself sometime in February in the fields. It takes about 6 weeks from plant emergence, meaning just coming up, to blooming into a flower. But it depends on the weather, okay? Then the tulips come into full bloom sometime in April and sometimes in early May. And sometimes, if it's a really warm winter, they'll even bloom in March. So it all depends on the weather. Okay? Then The blooms are removed just before the petals start to drop. The tulip blooms are removed so that the energy in the plant goes towards growing a large bulb rather than the tulip seed. It takes 5 to 7 years for a tulip seed to develop into a bulb large enough to produce a flower, whereas a bulb, if treated properly, can produce a flower year after year. After the flowers are all cut down, it's time to grow the bulb. So the energy goes into growing the bulb, and the fields are fertilized and watered as required, okay? Once the plant is died completely, the field is mowed. The net that the tulip bulbs were planted in is pulled up to the surface, and another tractor picks up the bulbs. The bulbs are then transferred to the company barns in Rosedale, where they are dried behind large fans. They're then cleaned and sorted, and they're kept. The largest ones are kept for forcing in the greenhouses, and the rest are stored behind fans till the fields are ready for planting. And having bulbs ready to force means people can start buying greenhouse tulips in January. Otherwise, you have to wait until April to buy tulips. So you can start buying tulips in January because they're able to put them in a warm greenhouse. So if you buy some bulbs this October or September, and you get to choose whatever colors you like at the garden center, the best thing to do with them is to plant them in the fall in well-draining soil. And what I like to do is plant them about 4 inches below the surface. I make a nice little hole with my bulb planter tool, which you can buy also at bulb centers and garden centers, and then you put a little bit of bone meal in the hole because the bulbs really like bone meal. And then just cover them with earth, and then if you don't want the squirrels to dig them out or the deer to eat them, you can put some chicken wire over the ground and put it down with some heavy bricks or stones or something until they start to grow in the early spring. And then that will give them a good chance of coming up and keeping away from predators. Okay? My name is Rebecca Schramm, and I am the Director's Assistant of the Agassiz Tulip Festival. And we're on Seabird Island, which is near the town of Agassiz, just a few minutes east of Agassiz on the Lougheed Highway. And we are very happy to welcome everybody who wants to come out and see our beautiful fields for about 2 weeks every spring. So thank you very much for coming, and please come back soon.